Welcome back into the studio. Yesterday we did top albums of the year in 2024. Today we're going to do my top songs of the year in 2024. An amazing year for music. It's really hard to make these lists. I think my list originally was at like 100+ songs and I had to narrow it down. I will say the ranking in this video is non-existent really. I mean, towards the end, the last song that I picked is probably the best song of the year, but it's just too hard to rank. At least with albums, there's just so much more criteria you can judge these on. No honorable mentions. We're gonna jump straight into it. Just first like, comment, and subscribe to both my channels. Join my Discord. Follow me over on Twitch. And the first song I want to mention is Phobie d'Impulsion by Glaive. And I'm scared as fuck, but I'm scared as fuck all the time. And I'm young. This was actually on my Apple Music replay, my top song of the year, just under 100 plays, and it is because it came out in like January or February, but this is a fantastic track. I really like the guitar in it. It's just really consistent. When Glaive kind of gets in his yelling, emotional type of bag, he put in a lot of effort into this track, which I really like. I just think it's one of his best like choruses he's ever done, and the tempo of the song is just kind of perfect. I am kind of sad that it winds down towards that 2-minute mark where I feel like I wish it kept going. The next one on my list is Purple Gas by Zach Bryan and Nolene Hoffman. If I weren't a flatland boy, I'd say I have a hill. This one just sneaks in there towards the end of the year. I've been playing this non-stop the last couple weeks, and it's just this doled down, soft, acoustic duet between Zach Bryan, who has fairly good lyrics in his music. He always has, you know, I'm not saying he was always my favorite artist, but I grew to like him this year. And my goodness, am I a sucker for female country artists, apparently. I need to check out more of her and more female country artists doing similar things, especially as like a Nebraskan. Like, it's the perfect thing to play on a one-lane road where there's nothing to the left and right of you, because sometimes I experience that in my life. Next up on my list, we're really gonna switch it up. This list is gonna be everywhere. Da-da-da by Dom Corleo and V's. Jeremy paired up with the flow. I got these motherfucking texts on me from the neck down to the sleeve. Easily one of the best underground rap tracks and collaborations of the year. V's and his flow just absolutely annihilate this track. He's a very underrated feature artist, I feel like, this year. But Dom Corleo, da-da-da, it's so dumb, but it's so good. Whoever produced this did an amazing job, by the way, and it just has a catchy chorus, good Dom Corleo performance. Like, his highs on his albums are really high in my opinion. I think he's a really underrated underground artist, and this one, ever since it dropped, you know, as a single, was a collaboration on my eyes on and fully exceeded expectations. I found myself playing it so much this year. Staying in the underground, next after that is What I Do Today by Molly Santana. What's in my bank account? Am I focused on getting paid? Or am I busy running my mouth? Easily her best song I think that she's made, and it's got a nice beat to it. It's short, it's 2 minutes, but it has a good message and has her best lyrics for sure. Don't be an idiot, don't be the trash talker online, you know, get out there and make some paper, grind. You know, this song is motivational. I think it's well done. It's easy to listen to in my opinion, and there's something about it. What I Do Today, What's in My Bank Account, that just kind of stuck with me all year, and I've always been a sucker for this track. Next up on my list is gonna be Image by Magdalena Bay. Actually seen it live, and Mika performs it so well. I just found this so catchy. I think there's a Grimes remix that really elevates the production, but it's not, you know, as good. I think this is like definitely the highlight from that Imaginal Disc album that came to shock me this year. And this duo is so cool to me. There might be better examples of how crazy their production could get. I wouldn't really call it psychedelic, but it leans towards that. But at the end of the day, it's still an indie pop record, and it's still a catchy song, and still the highlight of that album for me. This is a group I'm glad I found out who they were this year. They have a lot of potential and were highly praised this year, and they fully deserve it for making songs like this. Next up is Thank You by Clairo. I really hate to admit it. My goodness, is it so hard to just pick one favorite from Charm, one of my favorite albums this year. I think it's those piano keys on the chorus where they go da da dun 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 after a couple lines that just really get me. I mean, Sexy to Someone also is so amazing. She talks a lot about like relationships and stuff on here, but the song's so innocent and cute, and Clairo is so good at what she does. This album and songs like Thank You became so much more replayable, and I love them so much more than I would have even imagined. Next after that, I gotta mention Hummingbird from the Lyrical Lemonade album. This had Yumi, Saw Baby, and Tizo Touchdown on it. easily the most underrated song, not just on that project, because it was like the only like alternative softer song on kind of a rap, centric album with all these hip hop collaborations, If you don't know who Yumi is, I found out who she was through this song. She's a few other good songs as well, but this is a great performance by her. You get an interesting collaboration with Sababy, who seems to maybe go down this lane a couple times. An outro from Tizo, which isn't his best performance of all time, but is still really good. This ended up being one of my like top 5 most played songs of the year. I think it just came on a lot. I really never have a problem with it. It's got this nice, acoustic guitar and beat to it. And Yumi is the highlight with her singing and her chorus. And she is very underrated and has a nice range. I think vocally, I'm gonna have my eyes on her. Sababy is someone I got to get into a little bit more, so it was good to kind of check out his music, maybe even for the first time with that track. Next up on my list is Hardstone National Anthem, Don Toliver. It was technically the outro, but it's like Don is out in the woods calling to wolves on this track. It has such a beautiful soundscape. I mean, Don's whole album was produced well, but it's this one in particular that has this synth. And also the song just drags out so much because it's this slower, wind down of the album. There's some harder stuff on the album, don't get me wrong, but it's Don's range and ability, his talent showcasing on this is why I like it. I don't know really why I went back to one of the most over those more replayable songs on the track list, but I did. Next up on my list is the certified hit collaboration, Timeless, The Weeknd and Cardi. Cardi comes in with a couple different voices and flows, and he shows up, on this track, exactly what we needed. It's The Weeknd and Cardi. Are they going to give us their best collaboration yet? You probably have Mike Dean mixing it, but the background vocals complimenting Cardi's verse are so cool. I think The Weeknd has a good performance. I mean, this was supposed to be this rappy pop hit, and I think they executed well. Like, replay value as well needs to be studied. Cardi unfortunately didn't drop as many songs or an album in 2024 like we wanted, but this was for sure a highlight that dropped back in October. I think a song like this and where Cardi can move in this direction shows a lot of growth in his music, and he is definitely the most desired like feature artist out there. He said in his recent Rolling Loud performance, any song that he's on is his, and that is a fact. He shows up to play every feature, but this was the highlight for me in terms of Cardi this year. Next on my list is Taste from Lil Tecca. You wasn't promised, that you lucky you live for the day. It's really hard to pick one Plan A song or pick one song out of the singles to go to because you have Never Last and Number 2 and a couple others I really want to pick, but Taste actually might have the best production on the entire album. It's also one of the slower songs because Tecca has an R&B kind of style that he's working in. I think there's a jazz sample in there at the beginning, but it's a pretty seamless song. It's really, really catchy. You get synths at the end of it. The song kind of progresses and changes and starts to transition at the end because of the album. But this is a great performance by Tecca. It's a very mature song, I think, from Tecca, which is why I like it. When I'm going for Tecca, I'm listening to someone young who's making, good turnt music, fun stuff that's not overly too serious. But when I play Taste, you can throw that in a few other playlists or a few other areas and play it a little bit more. I feel like next up on my list, it was so hard to pick a song for Leroy, but I went with Stick With Me. This was actually an old leak that Leroy put on BandLab, I think January of 2023, and I think that's where the song peaked for me, was 2023, leading into Leroy's debut album, end of 2023, the first time. This was on the deluxe edition this summer, and it was an amazing release. I almost want to say I made Leroy make a TikTok to this because I would spam replies asking for the song to drop on the deluxe or finally come out. I'm just a sucker for samples like this. I think the drums really stand out, but it's not just a chorus that suckers me in. It's really just the subject matter of like, him and his girl, or you can really feel him, and I can personally relate to him a lot now, and you want to protect and love your girl and ride with her and die with her, you know what I mean? You really feel that. Leroy doesn't get too braggadocious in his raps, but he throws that in a few times, and I think this is one of his better like performances or rapping tracks and most underrated songs in his catalog. I'm so glad it finally released. It was hard to pick this over, Girls or Hatred or a few others. Next up on my list is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from Logic. Now I'm older and wiser, don't walk it up the driveway. I'll never have the passion I once did, it's understood. Ultra 85 was a great album this year. This was one of the more introspective, serious songs on the album where Logic actually locked in his pen, which I think is very overlooked nowadays. This song was cool because he starts off rapping about how he got into hip hop, kind of the roots of it, growing up with it, and learning about it through, movies and television and just all forms of media and Tarantino movies. Logic has his alter ego in mixtape series Bobby Tarantino 1, 2, and 3. He's always been a big fan of rapping about movies and cartoons and video games. That's kind of what has been his style and made him slightly different or nerdier of a rapper than most rappers traditionally rapping about drugs and cars and lean and shit. But when he compares himself to Rick Dalton, the main character of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino movie with Brad Pitt, I think it's one of his best, not Tarantino's best movie, but he compares himself to this washed up actor, this person played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who has all this money, lives up in the Hollywood Hills, but doesn't really know how to handle himself mentally or doesn't really know what to do with his life. And when Logic, kind of compares himself to that, it's such a cool track. The beat to it is just so fluent. This is the shit I like right here, man. This is the shit I like. This track is just perfection. It is so perfectly done in all aspects, production, lyrics, everything, you name it. Next up on this list, oh my god, the switch up is crazy. I hope you guys don't make fun of my list too much, but that's why it's my list, not yours. Let me know your favorite songs in the comments. Next up, I got Nothing Like You by Netspend. I think this kid is young and turned. He's not perfect by any means. His voice can be scratchy. His music can be full of way too many ad-libs or shitty lyrics. I'm only 21. I don't even fully understand some of the new gen music or underground scene. But when Netspend is good and he's at his best and he has a fantastic beat produced by OK, then it might work. Slut Truck was introduced to us, I feel like, on here. This was his first legit good song. Something that was put together well with a decent chorus. Again, the bars are really short. The song's really short. The beat does a lot of the carrying, but I think it's more about a feeling or something like that you get from this type of music. I really don't like too many other Netspend songs other than this. This will probably be the best song he'll ever make if I had to imagine, although I don't want to doubt him because he's got the connections and the popularity right now to go far, so we'll see. Next up after that, we have another newcomer this year, Ian, being on the song with Lil Yachty. It's called Hate Me. If I face me another, I die here. I'm just praying I make it to Friday. Either way, I'ma die with my pride. I think Ian finally got on some different style of production. Yachty brought him into this world for this. I don't know if Yachty kind of played back a little bit to let the new young star that he collaborated and did a video with, Ian, shine. But that first verse from Ian is immaculate. He's a good rapper. I understand he's not always the most original of where he gets his influence from, but I think at the end of the day, Ian is still himself. I haven't really understood the hate. I don't think he's doing anything bad to hip hop because he acts like himself as well. And overall, he actually has some good one-liners here and there. I'm just praying I make it a Friday. I might get that tattooed on me. And then also another underrated part about this song would be his little second verse he sneaks in, switches up the flow. I mean, my goodness. And then Yachty adds this weird dynamic with more ad-libs and his style. Yachty can get really weird with it, and I think he did on this track. And I think that this was a really interesting collaboration that had a lot of eyes on it. Next after that, I got Let's Get It, Let's Go by Trippie Redd. Trippie is still my GOAT at the end of the day. You knew that one of his songs was going to end up on my list. I think the trumpets in this beat are fantastic. Actually, the producer, I want to give a shout out to Sammy Hogg, or however you say his last name. He did the trumpets on this song, and he actually, saw my vlog of Trippie performing this song. But he's kind of part of the reason I love it so much. Trippie has an Anakin Skywalker bar that I really liked because I'm a big Star Wars fan. But overall, I think this was a better than usual Trippie track. He actually sounded more focused, and his flows and everything were good. He even raps so hard that he runs out of voice, gets a little scratchy at the end of the verse. But overall, man, it's just a fun song. And number one, most importantly, it's turned. So when I got to see that twice in concert, dude, I was going crazy. Next up on my list is gonna be KTM Drip by Juice WRLD. My up in my Snapchat showing ass. I know she'll love me for real. Obviously, this song was made probably back in 2019, but I'm so glad that they kind of kept it how it is. I don't think I'm going to be one to go at the mixing of this track. I think it's good enough. But the fact that they kept all three verses was amazing. This is peak hype Juice rapping. He gets really crazy and, explicit on a lot of the verse, but I don't really care. It's just so much fun. I first heard this as a leak actually back in the summer of 23, and that was kind of my song of the summer. It's just something to dance to, get excited to, and it's a nice change of pace for most of the Juice WRLD releases posthumously being a lot more sadder, or, you know, dealing with Juice's drug addiction or depression and stuff like that. This song, KTM Drip, is pure fun. It's gonna have you spin around in circles. It's one of the best songs he ever made, in my opinion. Next up on my list is gonna be Right About You with Post Malone.
What songs about sinning, evil women, pills, and cars?
Picked a solo song. I know there's so many features on that album, but this one just stuck with me after a few listens on the album, and he kind of reminisces about what he used to make music about, which he obviously doesn't do because he's making this pop, country, folk, alternative stuff now. And he obviously came out with White Iverson, was a white dude with dreads, and he was rapping back in like 2015. So his evolution is crazy, and he kind of talks about that. I used to talk about women, pills, and cars and drugs, and made all these pop records and made all this money, but now he's making this type of music, and sonically I think it's one of the better put together, more listenable tracks on that album. I've always gone back to it. Next after that, I'm gonna stick with Post Malone. There's just some people this year that did so well that he needed 2 inclusions on my list. I couldn't pass up yours. One of the solo songs, the outro to F1 Trillion on that Post Malone album. This song is dedicated to his newborn daughter, I think this year or last year, where Post Malone is talking about another man, you know, marrying her, and he's gonna now, as a father, send off his daughter to the world, and another man's gonna take care of her, and she's gonna grow up and everything like that. And it's just like this wedding type of song that I feel like could be played at weddings forever. I just think it's like such a special track. I knew since he previewed it, I think like in Nashville when he was making this album and writing and producing and making this whole country album, I knew when he previewed it like it was gonna be the one for me. Next track after that is Are You Looking Up by McGee. If you wanna go, then baby, go wild. McGee was a new artist I kind of dove into this year. It was definitely the highlight of that album for me. I think he's a great producer in terms of a lot of the guitars I was hearing. I've never heard this song until a few months ago, but somehow this song sounds so nostalgic. I don't know how to describe it. I'm planning on using it on my end of the year time capsule video I make on Instagram. I don't know if I need to feel like I'm celebrating something when I listen to this or be really, really sad when I listen to this, but McGee is certainly really, really talented. It's got a lot of plays out of me. I almost had to like dial back and like, yo, don't ruin the song for playing it too much the last few months. I will say McGee in his music, I know it's kind of his style, he somehow still manages to stay hidden a little bit vocally, which I'm still getting adjusted to. And there's kind of a weird sound effect, or I don't know if it's supposed to go with the music video or what, but it kind of comes in towards the back half of the track. Very interesting creative decisions from McGee, but I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to do in the future. Next after that, we're just going to continue to just go all around the map here. Next is Psycho CEO by Yeet. With the year for the week, I just took off. This was the intro to 2093. He really just set the tone for that amazing album experience he gave us. It was really hard to just pick one song from Yeet with him having 2 different long 20+ track albums this year. I think this is the one. I just feel like a boss listening to this. I mean, that was the character he was trying to portray, was this, you know, CEO out of the future type of thing he was doing on this album. And, you know, he's calling himself the CEO in the title of this track. So I think he executed it well. Instantly just hit with these synths, and that was kind of the soundscape, and you get that futuristic feel you're brought into for this album. So it was just really perfect. And I feel like you could still perform it and replay this track a lot and everything like that. It's just a staple Yeet song to me at this point. Yeet's gonna do so many creative things in terms of background vocals, you know, however they're moving, and high-pitched and auto-tuned. And next on my list, we're gonna go over to Future and Metro for the next few tracks. I'm gonna go with Type Shit.
Gripping all of my balls, I gotta move, type shit. Thomas, they cover my flaws, I ain't had to bring.
I mean, what a collaboration. You have Future, Metro, Travis Scott, and Cardi. Like, those are all the top dogs in hip-hop. Of course this song was going to be a banger. It's a little controversial with the bridge part that slows it down, and you get synthy and starry production on Travis Scott's part. I actually like that. Of course, you know, Future and Metro did good. It's like there's bells in the beat that are thumping and repetitive, but that part didn't get as annoying as I thought it was going to over time. It's really Cardi coming in with this deep flow. You never know what he's going to do. He's the feature god. He's stealing the show, just like I talked about on Timeless. He does it again here, and it's just such a weird, wormy type of flow that he does. This is just one of those examples of the highlights that we get from We Still Don't Trust You and these Future and Metro albums. It's hard to pick a favorite off that album because I feel like it changes so much, because right now it can be Where Your Twin At or Everyday Hustle. Next up on the list is Red Leather from We Still Don't Trust You, Future, Metro, and J. Cole.
Heard I 7 inch, got emotional. Coding got my heart like opium.
J. Cole was such a weird feature to add on because you wouldn't really expect this type of beat from them. This laid back, simple guitar. I kind of feel like I'm laying on the beach. Long 6-minute track, and then J. Cole just pulled out of the beef and hip hop's exploding at the time. It didn't really make sense to me at first. I was actually a little disappointed when I first heard this song from J. Cole's verse. I don't think it's his best feature as much as he is a feature god and one of the best rappers alive. And Future, I just grew to like that melodic stuff so much more than I thought. I love his performance a little bit more, don't get me wrong. I don't really like this word because it's kind of cringy, you know, nowadays, but this song is the definition of a vibe. It is. And since we talked about the rap beef a few times, my next track is going to be Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar.
It's no accent, you can sell me. You're Cole and I know I'm a selfish nigga. The crown is heavy.
I actually think this was Kendrick's best song he released this year in terms of rapping. It starts off a little slow, but my goodness, does he get intricate. I just had so much fun with this track. He just picks apart Drake, you know, I don't care how many voices you're able to do on a track. He's literally name dropping J. Cole and Drake like, I'm gonna win this beef. The crown is heavy. The flows he hit and the energy the song started to pick up with is like insane. This was a crazy response from Kendrick. This was a high powered song. I'm not gonna lie. I think Not Like Us was, sure, yes, a hit song, fun to play, and talks about Drake being, you know, a P word, which is just hilarious. That turned into being like one of the biggest culture moments and biggest moment in hip hop. But I think it was really this song that Kendrick made that was actually the best and gave me the results in rapping that I wanted from Kendrick out of this beef. And because I mentioned Kendrick, I have to mention Drake now with Family Matters.
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. Where's your uncle at?
I think this was his absolute bombshell. I actually think this might be the best song from the beef. In terms of what I'm playing, I'm just a big Drake fan, although I will admit that Kendrick slightly won the beef because Drake kind of gave up at the end. It was unfortunate that this song got so overlooked because Kendrick, you know, won the beef and Drake got made fun of so much and only released a few songs this year, but this was magnificent. This song gets better and better by each beat switch. There's 3 different parts to this song. The second part of the song, he does spend a lot of time going at Rick Ross. He's going at A$AP Rocky. He's going at The Weeknd. He's going after all these people, which, to be fair, it was pretty much a 20v1 versus Drake. But I think it's the third verse that he comes in with that classic Drake beat. Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. It's like one of my favorite bars this year. I think he goes back at Kendrick perfectly on this. You want to associate with Pharrell? Okay, come get his legacy out of my house. I own all of his millions of dollars of chains. When Drake raps like this in this bag and has this confidence, he's in this mode at the top of his game. To me, he sounds like maybe the best rapper on planet Earth. You might disagree with that. I don't even mind his goofy bars because that will happen in Drake's music every once in a while. But like the fact that he made fun of his own D pic and D video getting leaked was like hilarious. Yeah, this song is insane. It was his bombshell. Unfortunately, Meet the Grams was way too dark of a song and dropped 30 minutes later and kind of overshadowed this in the beef. I don't really have any honorable mentions in this video, but I think lastly, this is definitely my favorite song of the year, even though, like I said, there's not too much of a ranking to this video. And I have to go with Saturday Mornings by Cordae and Lil Wayne.
On the daily, my penmanship which I pay me. It's time to get the bacon. This shit is biscuits and gravy.
Getting Lil Wayne featured on this track on a soul sample on the back half for his verse was amazing, but it was really Cordae who, like I said in my albums video, upped his pen game so much more, his beat selection. This was really the perfect single to come in with and was probably my favorite Cordae verse. You get a good update on his life and where he's at now. Like, he's only going to post it if he owns it. He's not that type of rapper. He's not like these other guys. Of course, Wayne really respects, you know, Cordae, and I've actually seen them on tour together. These are just 2 of my all-time, you know, favorite rappers for me personally, so to see this collaboration on this type of beat was just disgusting, bro. Wayne's gonna have his wordplay and his flow and do his thing, and then Cordae's gonna do his thing, and you get a little bridge in the middle. It's just the perfect song. Anytime I needed to go for something motivational or I just needed a great rap song to get me into the mode, I was going with this track every single time, and I played this probably almost every Saturday morning as a huge college football fan to motivate me in the morning and to play it for fun every Saturday morning just because of the title. Why not? We had an amazing year of music. It was so incredibly hard to make these lists. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of my list. I want to know your guys' favorite songs as well. And yeah, thank you guys for watching to the end of the video. Thank you for an amazing year. Look out for more end of the year content on all of my social medias. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I also have a Discord, join that, and a Twitch. Check me out on stream. And yeah, love you guys. Peace.
And I'm scared as fuck, but I'm scared as fuck all the time. And I'm young.
If I weren't the flatland boy, I'd say I have a hill.
Jeremy paired up with the flow. I got these motherfucking texts on me from the neck down to the sleeve.
What's in my bank account? Am I focused on getting paid? Or am I busy running my mouth?
You know that you lucky you living for the day. Try the brains up the coop, but she my main and she flew. Ask her how she came, private plane when she flew.
Now I'm older and wiser, adult walking up the driveway. I'll never have the passion I once did, it's understood.
I've been trying to get geeked all night. I'm with twin in the ring, put a Sprite.
If I face me another, I die here. I'm just praying I make it to Friday. Either way, I'ma die with my pride.
Andy, join the dark side. I'm feeling like Anakin, boy, I'm a dance.
Throw a few bands in your face.
My drawing bitch up in my Snapchat showing that. I know she'll love me for real.
But songs about sinning, evil women, pills and cars. Beware why. But the first dress it was fit.
If you wanna go, then baby go wild.
Money, big balls. With the euro for the week, I just took off.
Gripping all on my balls, I gotta move, tight shit. Thomas, they cover my flaws, I ain't had to pay.
Heard I said lean, she got emotional. Codeine got my heart like opium.
It's no accent you can sell me. Your culinary know I'm a selfish nigga. The crown is heavy.
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. Where's your uncle at?
On the daily, my penmanship which they pay me. It's time to get the bacon. This shit is biscuits and gravy.